Senior scanner Vexel had been staring at the same screen for 12 hours straight. His 6 eyes burned with fatigue, but he couldn't look away. The Deep Space Monitoring Station orbited the edge of the Helix Nebula, and his job was simple: watch for anything unusual. Today, something very unusual was happening. The energy signature on his screen made no sense. It didn't match any entry in the Empire's massive database. For over 300 years, the Karan Empire had conquered dozens of species across the galaxy. They knew every type of ship, every engine design, every weapon system used by known civilizations. This wasn't one of them. Vexel clicked his claws nervously against the console. The reading showed a vessel of some kind, but no ship should move like that. It had appeared from nowhere, as if it had simply materialized. The vessel was scanning the nebula's rare trilithium deposits, the same ones Admiral Zergoth had marked for future mining operations. Vexel's elongated scanner neck stretched forward, poring over the feed. The ship was dark, sleek, and utterly silent except for its energy output. Its design was bizarre, neither heavily armored like Imperial warships, nor agile and skeletal like Centauri raiders. It was both ... and neither. Vexel reached for his cums. His supervisor needed to see this, but as his claw touched the controls, the ship vanished, not destroyed, not jumping to hyperspace, not cloaked. It simply ceased to exist. He ran every scan he could think of: deep-range sensors, particle sweeps, gravimetric distortion monitors. All said the same thing: empty space. The only proof it had ever been there were faint energy traces, floating in the dust, and even those were fading. 30 minutes later, Admiral Zergoth stood behind Vexel, massive even by Kefmoran standards. The Admiral's body was covered in ritual scars denoting his rank. His forearms were crossed tightly, his tone sharp. "Show me again." Vexel replayed the recording. The Admiral watched in silence as the unknown ship arrived, scanned the trilithium fields, and vanished. "Analysis?" Zergoth asked. "Unknown. Configuration, sir. The hull design matches no known species. The energy output completely alien. Whatever powers that thing, it isn't from this galaxy. Could it be a new Centauri prototype, or Muldari biotech?" Vexel shook his head. "Centauri use plasma cores. This wasn't plasma. Muldari ships are bioorganic. We detected no organics at all." Zergoth walked to the observation window, gazing at the swirling clouds of the Helix Nebula. "Someone was looking at the same treasure we were," he muttered, "and they weren't supposed to be here." "Dispatch Patrol Fleet 7, he ordered. "Full sweep. If that ship's still out there, I want it found." "Yes, Admiral, but one more thing. Speak. The energy pattern suggests it might not be from this dimension. The readings were wrong, like the ship only partially existed in our space." Zergoth's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible." "Yes, sir," Vexel said. "So was everything else about that ship." 2 hours later, Patrol Fleet 7 arrived at the coordinates. Captain Velmuth led 3 destroyers, sweeping every asteroid, gas, pocket, and piece of debris within a 50-kilometer radius. They found nothing. The energy traces Vexel had recorded were almost gone, readable only by the most sensitive instruments. Velmuth collected what he could and returned to the station. In the lab, Zergoth studied the samples. The residual energy defied Imperial science, shifting between phases of matter and energy. "It hurt just thinking about it, sir." Voice came over the intercom. "What if this wasn't random? What if they were studying us specifically, our trilithium ops?" Zergoth went cold. The Empire's expansion relied on trilithium. If another species wanted the same resource, that meant competition. "Or worse, file a full report," he ordered. "Send it to the War Council." And Vexel: "Yes, sir. Keep watching. If it returns, I want to know immediately." But deep in his gut, Admiral Zergoth knew whoever had been watching was far more advanced than they looked, and that frightened him. Ghosts, in his experience, meant something was hunting you. 3 weeks passed. Then came reports he didn't want to believe. The ship was back. Not in one place, everywhere. The first came from mining foreman Crawler in the Sigma Droner system. "We've been running smoothly for 2 years, Crawler said. Overcomes 12 ships. No trouble. Then it appeared, just watching us. Did you engage?" "No time. Before we could power up, it faded away." Cloaked: "No, sir, it faded. Like it stopped being real." More reports followed from Kepler Beltvol 359, gas harvesters, refineries, each report identical. A dark ship would appear, observe, and vanish in ways no one could explain. Commander Thitsos from intelligence looked deeply disturbed. She had faced rebels, alien threats, assassins, but this was different. "We have 17 confirmed sightings in 12 systems," she said grimly. "All near high-value mining sites. The pattern is clear. Someone is watching us and knows exactly where to look." Zergoth stared at the red markers blinking on his star map. "All major operations, none random. They have intelligence." He said, "Yes, Admiral, which means they've been watching us far longer than 3 weeks. That night, Zergoth couldn't sleep. He stood in silence, staring into the stars. What kind of enemy ignored every rule of physics the Empire knew? No fuel trail, no propulsion readings, no heat signature, no detectable mass. The next morning brought worse news. Director Vashhelm from the Teti operation was panicking. It's here now, Admiral, watching us. We've tried everything. Our targeting systems can see it, but they can't lock on. Launch, fighters. 6 Imperial fighters screamed toward the target. Target in sight. Beginning attack. Runner lock. Missiles won't track. Switching to plasma. Manual fire no effect. It's fading. Static gone, sir. Just gone. Zergoth closed the link in silence. An enemy that couldn't be locked, hit, or even seen at will. That wasn't an enemy they could fight. He called an emergency meeting. Captain Genrak of the fleet, Commander Yulfus of strategy, Colonel Morith of ground command. What are we dealing with? A scout, said Genrak. They're preparing for invasion. A dimensional entity, Yulfus offered. Partially in our universe, partially elsewhere. A weapon, said Morith. Something meant to break us before the real fight. Begins. Zergoth considered them all. None of them were good recommendations. We set a trap, said Genrak. Use something too tempting to ignore. Surround it with every defense we have. What if it can't be destroyed? Asked Yulfus. Then we capture it, said Morith. Gravity nets, dimensional containment, whatever we've got. Zergoth nodded. Prepare the bait. What do you suggest, sir? The weapons research station at Proxima Centauri. That facility was hidden in an asteroid field, guarded by top-tier defenses. It was where the Empire built planet-killing weapons. If the enemy was gathering intelligence, they wouldn't be able to resist. Set the trap, Zergoth ordered. Be ready for anything. But in his heart, he feared one thing. The enemy already knew about the trap, and that meant they were far smarter than anyone wanted to believe. On the edge of known space, Captain Elena Vasquez floated in her seat aboard the Shadow's Edge. The human reconnaissance vessel sat between dimensions, invisible to normal sensors but able to observe everything in real space. For 3 months now, she and her crew had been mapping the Karan Empire's military and resource positions. The phage drive was experimental, but it worked flawlessly. They could appear, scan, vanish, and the Empire had no idea. Not yet. Zergoth growled, trying to reassert control. Elena kept smiling. Yes, we counted. Beautiful formation, by the way, very efficient. That threw him off again. You're mocking me. No, Admiral, she said genuinely. I respect competence. It's why we've been observing your empire for the past year. You're a real threat. That's why we came personally. Zergoth blinked all 4 of his eyes at once. You admit to espionage, violating Imperial space, and infiltration of military infrastructure. Absolutely, Elena said. But only because we didn't want to start a war. We're hoping for a more civilized conversation. Civilized, Zergoth repeated, voice thick with disbelief. You violate our territory, disrupt our operations, and now sit in the middle of my fleet pretending to negotiate. I prefer the word demonstrate, she said lightly. You've seen our ship vanish and reappear. You've failed to lock weapons or track us effectively. And now, even surrounded, we're talking. That should tell you something. Zergoth glanced at one of his lieutenants off-screen, whispering something urgently. The Admiral turned back. Tell me, human, if you're not here to attack. What? Do you want to be seen? Elena replied, voice serious now. The Empire is expanding rapidly. If your fleets cross the wrong boundary, you might trigger something you're not ready for. Our observation was meant to prevent that, but your trap forced our hand. You're threatening me, Zergoth said, voice low. No, Elena said. I'm warning you. Not all humans are as nice as me. Behind her, Marcus gave a thumbs up. He'd cracked the communication relay. Sarah's fingers danced over the console, deploying tracking viruses into every subsystem of the Imperial fleet. You're bluffing, Zergoth said. Then go ahead, Elena challenged. Fire, let's see who regrets it more. There was a long silence. The Admiral's claws twitched against the edge of his console. Finally, he spoke. What happens now? Elena leaned back in her chair. Now we leave, and you decide what to tell your war council. Zergoth's eyes narrowed. And if we follow Yulgoth, he said simply. But we'll know where all your fleets are. Every weapon, every base. Maybe next time, you'll realize a conversation is better than a war. Without waiting for a reply, Elena cut the transmission. Phase drive, she asked online. Sarah confirmed. We can ghost out any time. Then let's vanish, Elena said. The Shadow's Edge shimmered, twisted, and disappeared, leaving behind nothing but a silent Imperial fleet and a very disturbed Admiral staring into the void. Zergoth stood in stunned silence. Order, sir, his lieutenant asked. Zergoth's voice was flat. Log this incident, highest classification, and find out everything you can about these humans. But deep down, he already knew something ancient had just awakened in the galaxy, and it was watching. Zergoth stared at her through the screen, his voice slow and disbelieving. Your vessel is small and alone. Why are you not afraid? Elena laughed, the sound light and utterly out of place to Imperial ears. Oh, I'm definitely nervous, but fear won't help me right now. Besides, you seem like reasonable people. I'm sure we can work something out. Behind him, Commander Thetsos leaned in, whispering, Sir, This behavior makes no sense. Either they're incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Neither is good for us, Elena continued as if she hadn't heard. Your ships really are impressive. By the way, those destroyers look like they pack serious firepower, and your formation shows excellent tactical discipline. It's clear you run a tight operation. Zergo felt an odd warmth at the compliment, then quickly grew suspicious. You're trying to distract us, not at all, Elena replied icily. I appreciate good craftsmanship when I see it. Your empire clearly invested time and talent in perfecting its fleet. How long did it take you to develop those gravity mines? The design is quite clever. While Elena spoke, Marcus was deep in the Imperial networks. Their systems were powerful, but primitive by human standards. Encryption that would stump most species fell apart under his hands. Captain, Marcus whispered. I'm in there. Main communication grid. Sarah, start the uploads, Elena said softly without looking at her station. Sarah's fingers blurred across the console as she embedded surveillance programs into the Imperial systems, each one designed to remain hidden and quietly funneled data back to human intelligence. Messages, orders, fleet logistics, all of it would soon be human knowledge. Meanwhile, Elena kept the Admiral's attention. I'm curious, how do you coordinate such a large fleet with so many ship classes, centralized command or distributed? Zergo squinted. Why do you want to know? Professional curiosity, she said brightly. I'm a ship captain too, and I admire smooth coordination. Yours is much better than some species we've encountered. Against his better judgment, Zergo answered. We use a hierarchical command structure. Ships report to squadron leaders, then fleet commanders, then sector command. That's very logical, Elena nodded. Helps with discipline, but doesn't that slow response time in emergencies? The Admiral froze. He was having a tactical discussion with an enemy operative. And worse, he had begun enjoying it. Commander Thetsos yanked on his arm. Admiral, she's extracting intelligence. This is a conversation trap. Elena smiled even wider. Your intelligence officer is good. Yes, I'm learning about your military, but I'm sharing information too. It's a fair trade. What information? Zergo demanded. Well, you now know humans exist, that we have stealth ships, and that we're open to peaceful contact. That's more than you knew an hour ago. Marcus flashed a thumbs up. He'd finished downloading fleet data across 12 Imperial sectors. Sarah had completed the virus implant and was copying specs and strategic plans. Admiral, Elena said gently, I should probably mention if I don't report back soon, my government might assume something's gone wrong. Is that a threat? Zergo asked. No, Elena said. Just a fact. Humans get protective of their people. If they think I've been hurt or captured, they might overreact. Overreact how? Her smile turned slightly colder. You've seen one stealth ship. I probably shouldn't mention how many more we have, or what else we're capable of. That might make you nervous. Zergo felt ice creep through him. Was she bluffing? How many ships do humans have? He asked quietly enough. Elena said simply, the real question is, will we be friends or enemies? I'd prefer friends. The galaxy's big enough for both of us. Sarah nodded toward Elena. Everything was in place. Marcus had finished mapping. The mission was a success, Elena to Zergo, she said with a grin. It's been a pleasure, but I think it's time for me to leave. You are not going anywhere, Zergo snapped. You're our prisoner, am I? She said softly. That question hit harder than he expected. You're surrounded. You can't escape. He pressed. She tilted her head. That does seem like a problem. Sarah, how are those repairs? Almost done, Captain, Sarah said cheerfully. Just a few more seconds. Zergo tensed. Why say that aloud unless she wanted him to know? Even with repairs, you can't outrun 18 warships. That's kind of you, Elena said. But I think there's a misunderstanding. I didn't come here to surrender. I came to deliver a message. Zergo scoffed. One ship can't threaten the Empire. You're absolutely right, she agreed. One ship can't. But who said there was only one? She made a subtle gesture. Marcus tapped a key. Every Imperial ship's screens went dark for 3 seconds. When they returned, all weapons were offline. Entire ships' bowless officers panicked, but nothing responded. What have you done? Zergo roared. We had a pleasant conversation, Elena said calmly. And during that time my team accessed your networks. Sarah is very, very good with computers. Impossible. Our systems are secure. They were secure against your own tech. But humans think differently. What's impossible for you is just Tuesday for us. Zergo clenched his fists. We'll restore control. Oh, I expect you will, Elena said. Within a few hours. We didn't damage anything permanently. This wasn't to destroy your fleet, just to show you something, which is that humans have capabilities your empire doesn't understand. Zergo was about to retort when Commander Thetsos spoke in a low voice. Sir, long-range sensors, multiple contacts approaching. Big ones, Elena nodded. Right on time. Zergo switched displays and froze. Massive energy signatures, dozens of ships, larger than anything he'd ever seen, moving fast, appearing from empty space. Stealth fleet, he whispered. 3 full battle groups, Elena said. Standard procedure when making contact with a potentially hostile force. Zergo stared at the screen, counting more firepower than entire Imperial sectors held. They'd been there the whole time. You planned this. Of course we did, Elena said. We've been watching your empire for months. We know where your fleets are, your strategic plans, your weaknesses. You knew nothing about us. That was intentional. What do you want? Zergo asked. Stop expanding toward human space. Stay behind your current borders. In return, we won't interfere with your expansion elsewhere. And if we refuse, then those battle groups will form a perimeter you'll never cross. Any ship that tries disappears. Every military base within 50 light-years, offline. Zergo looked at her face and saw no hint of deception. You could have destroyed us. Yes, she said quietly. But war is costly, people die. Better to have a civilized conversation. This is a threat. It's both, she said. That's what the best diplomacy is, Captain Sarah called. Phase drive is ready. Elena stood, straightening her uniform. Admiral, it's been a pleasure. I do hope our peoples can be friends, but remember what happened today. The next human ship might not be as talkative. The shadow's edge shimmered, then vanished from space. Seconds later, the stealth fleet disappeared to .zurg. Go sat back in silence. In under an hour, everything he believed about Imperial dominance had been overturned. Somewhere out there was a species that could appear at will, disable entire fleets, and vanish like smoke. And now, the Empire knew they were not alone.